I mean, you got, like you said, you got to find out the language that you can speak, and not everybody can do everything. And I would even encourage people that, hey, you shouldn't want to do everything, because when you do everything, you kind of do everything at like the same level. You want to find like what you're really good at and be like this good.
Yeah. I lay on the scale, you gotta glow, you gotta glow. She had my attention, she gotta know.
I'd like to welcome everyone to another episode of the Let's Get podcast. I'm your host Zeke, and in this episode, I have my friend Patrick to speak about his journey in being an art director. I'd like to give a content warning for any strong language used in this episode, and hope you have a nice day and enjoy the show.
3, 2, 1. So, I'd like to thank you for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
No problem. And the first question I would like to ask is, what would your origin story be, and how would you like to represent it?
Say that again.
What would your origin story be, and how would you like to represent it?
Sorry, I didn't get the first part.
Your origin story.
My origin story.
Yes.
So you mean professionally, or like as a human being?
It could be a human being, professionally. It's your story.
Okay. I think in both senses they are pretty different of where I currently am. So I'm originally from El Salvador, and when you think of El Salvador, you don't think America or like the United States or any of like the values and the successes. And I'm also an art director. And when you think El Salvador, they don't traditionally consider the arts to be a career. And I didn't either when I was growing up. But various things happened. I would consider I would consider a lot of what happened in my life a series of fortunate events. Um, Things that I never thought would happen to get me here. And it's one of those scary things that you don't know how they're going to turn out. For example, my stepdad came into my life, and he was very adamant um, about studying and languages and growing up as best as you could, just from an academic point of view, so that you had the best chance of life the moment that you graduated. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here where I am, as a human being, because he really helped out morally, um, values and all that. Um, and then professionally, because of all the things that my stepdad, you know, instilled in me, um, later in life when I wanted to do more arts related um, studies, it was much easier to go for it when you had the confidence, that somebody actually believed in you, which tended to be the opposite of everybody back at home. Um, like he because he didn't have the values from there. It was very different. So that's a very long-winded way of saying that. Um, my origin story does not match my origin. If I had been in El Salvador, I would have probably been, some accountant, only knowing Spanish, doing the basic things that we do down there. But now it's completely different. I live in New York, work as an art director, and it's a lot more fun than how it would have probably been. So I hope that answers it.
Yeah. And how would you like to represent it? Like a book, movie, TV show?
Say that again.
How would you like to represent it?
Oh God. I would much rather have it. Oh, I would love to say a video game, but there's no fun in that story. But uh, I would love it a book, honestly. I think I would be too picky with who would be my actor. Um, and I also love the fact that what's that writing can have that. They say this a lot, which I think is a little pretentious, but like theater of the mind, where you can like say whatever you want and people make up their own assumptions. But it's also nice because people feel a little bit more engaged because um, they're filling in the gaps on their own. And also, although I am in art, I don't particularly like it still, and I do spend a lot of time writing um, because it's easier for me to get ideas down. Um, Heck, I would actually like writing out the the story. Um, so yeah, a book.
Nice. So, also you mentioned how you are like an art director. What really clicked for you in the arts, even though you said it wasn't like that in the beginning?
Well, I didn't really delve into it too much, but I actually hated art when I was a kid. Well, there were two things that had to do with art. Um, in in school, for the most part, we did fine arts, and I didn't particularly enjoy it just because I just wasn't very good at it, and I did practice it a lot. Um, I was never good with color. I'm still not good with color. Um, but in I think it was in like the early high school years, the school had a new class called technology. That's literally what they called it. Um, Very vague, but what we essentially did was isometric drawings of things. So cubes, um, trapezes, anything. Kind of like what you would have for a 3D models, where you can see like the front side, the side view, the top view, and then like a perspective view, right? And while everybody who was in the fine arts class hated that section of the class because we did it only once a semester. Sorry, we did it one trimester out of the other three. Um, I loved it, and I guess to me it was like I understood it. I finally understood it. I finally understood a part of design that made sense to me. Um, it was weird because I hated maths and I hated science. Well, I didn't hate them. I just didn't particularly enjoy them. Um, because there was a very specific answer every time, and it didn't feel like there was a chance to like explore. It was just like find it. Um, but while these technology classes were very much art, they still had an answer which I understood. Um, and I don't know, like I just felt I had more control, and like there was much more of an ending to things. It's weird. It was the only thing I actually liked. I enjoyed it so much. I got so far ahead in the little handbook that we had to do by the end of the trimester that the professor was like, "If you want to help people around, do it." And this was like 2 weeks into like a 6 week thing. I was done. Um, and then I got so bored. I started, which I got called out for, doing my friend's homework for quick cash, um, because I would do it really quickly. Um, it just didn't turn out too well, but it was fun. And then later on, when I found out that there was something like this in graphic design, um, I kind of just fell into it. I did a pre-college course at Parsons, um, when I was still in high school, and then just loved it. So it's not. I'm not necessarily in graphic design. I'm in art direction, but um, later on, I did study more user experience um, for my bachelor's, which was much closer to that technology class I took. Um, and although I'm in art direction, I do UX still on the side, and my previous jobs have been in user experience. So you could probably say that I finally found something I loved. That's actually one of the reasons why I still have rulers back there. I don't know. I still love just working with stuff. So
Nice. So same as you found the language that you were able to speak in terms of like designing.
I did. It was so I know like as a creative, you want to have like the freedom to do everything, right? Um, I'm not like that. I I I can make something pretty from scratch. Um, it'll just take me longer than other people who are better. It won't be the best thing in the world, but I love the planning. And it's a different kind of planning when you're doing a painting or a drawing versus when you're doing something like a blueprint. Um, it's a lot of like when you're doing like those technology drawings, those isometric drawings, or like a wireframe, for example, for a website. You are giving, how do I say it? You're giving a visual to this planning of like where things will be. Like you're organizing things in a visual way. And I know someone's gonna say, yeah, you kind of do the same when you like sketch out the head and the body and everything. But to me, it's a different language that I just don't understand. It's like code. I don't understand it. I can read it. I just can never write it. And it's the same thing with like fine art. I can do it. I'm just not very good at it. But when it comes to like planning and drawing out a structure, I really get it, which is weird.
It'd be like that sometimes.
Yeah, I
And
mean, you got, like you said, you got to find out the language that you can speak, and not everybody can do everything. And I would even encourage people that, hey, you shouldn't want to do everything, because when you do everything, you kind of do everything at like the same level. You want to find like what you're really good at and be like this good.
like you were able to do everything, but you have that one specialty that really gets you farther ahead in life.
Yeah, like definitely try out other stuff, because I read this somewhere. I forgot what it was. You wanna know enough about everything to be dangerous at it, but not like get boxed into it.
Yeah. Like, I know a little bit about a lot of things, so I can have a conversation, and I
Hmm.
have seen it already, but yeah, I can speak to you about it.
Yeah, makes you much more interesting too.
Like, did you watch the show? No, I did not watch the show, but I know exactly what's going on.
Sorry.
But people will be like, "Did you watch the show?" I'm like, no, but I know exactly what's going on. I know the
Yeah.
characters. Yeah.
Cool.
Like going back when I met you during the competition, I was like, well, I'm in charge of the team, but you guys are leading everything.
Hmm.
And I was like, you guys are way more experienced. You guys know what you're doing. I was like, okay, cool. I'll
Oh,
be
you
in
mean
charge.
when we did the project years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. God, that was forever ago. I still can't believe it.
I was like, I like designing, but these people know what they're doing, so I'm gonna let them be in charge of everything.
Yeah,
So like, so now you're in art direction. How do you explain that to somebody?
art direction. So to like normal people who are not in design, it's easy. I basically say I come up with ideas for campaigns. That's the easy one. Um, when you're when you're talking to other creatives, so like um graphic designers, my best friend is in 3D modeling. Um and then other people who are creative creatives that in their field they have an art director title. You tell them that you're an art director and they're like, whoa, you're a director title, you're so high up there, you have a team under you. And I'm like, no, I'm actually not that high up there, I kind of just started. That's the title that they give to the art people. um and they just get so surprised, because I don't know of other fields that have like a director title in the very beginning. um but it's essentially a role where all you really do is set the look of a brand, of a campaign, of a new thing, right? um and then once you have that the direction set, you work with other people to help you bring that idea to life, be it, developers or other graphic designers or other art directors. You also work with a copywriter usually who helps you set the tone for it, not just the visuals, but like the words that you would use, the language that you would use, and all that. Um, and it's a pretty cool role because you do a lot of coming up with ideas of things that would be, cool to see as a normal person just interacting, trying to make advertising less boring, and make it so that people don't want to automatically press the skip button. Um, and and yeah, I mean it's pretty fun. It's also really interesting because um, same with some of the other fields like graphic design, you work with brands to help them figure out who the heck they are. What do they stand for? What do they do? What do they want to do? Um, and how they position themselves in the world to put their money where their mouth is. So it's really cool. That, I guess, that would basically be it. It's actually very simple to normal people. To other creatives, it's like, whoa, no, it's not that exciting.
It's like I am normal, just like you are.
Yeah, no, actually, like I just do art. I would that's the other thing. Compared to some of the more creative roles like graphic design, um, you spend a lot of time just doodling, um, and coming up with concepts that not you're not always executing or making stuff look pretty. It's a lot of planning, as if you were like planning a painting, for example. Um, which is probably part of the reason why I'm not very good at it.
And so with that, are there okay, whatever. I lost my train of thought. That's fine. I had a question about art direction and I
Mhm.
remember now. How is it like coming up with new ideas? So remember we did a competition. It was like everything's been done. How did we mix it?
um, I feel like the worst person to answer this because I don't get it myself. Um, so in advertising, the way that they believe ideas come off is you have to come up with what they call a big idea or a platform, which is like the core messaging that the brand wants to send out. Like just do it from Nike. Every one of the executions that they do is around that, right? Or you're not you when you're hungry, that's Snickers. Then every one of the campaigns is basically based around that. Um, and the what you want to do when you're coming up with an idea, especially for a new brand, is to come up with a really interesting big idea that can last years, and you can come up with really fun stuff for it, right? um so the way that you come up with that is research, finding out what makes the brand truly different, especially in fields where it's like the where every bit of research sounds like the competition. Like people love soda, you could say that for every one of them. um you can only really say that everybody knows what a Coke is without even using the whole name, or like that Coke is probably the most popular brand, right? um so you kind of have to find out what that edge is competitively, and then work with strategists, talk to people and find out how they actually feel about the brand. Also, there's an ambulance going on outside. Let me know if you hear it. Um, and then once you find that like very interesting take, which requires a lot of concepting and coming up with ideas, and usually what you do is that you present the idea along with a sketch and some headlines, um, just to get the idea across. And then once you get that, then you start working on like how does it look, what is the tone, um, and then if it's good enough, then a client adopts it, and then as you come up with stuff, you want to come up with new things that, to your point, have never been done before. What 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 helps is having a creative director who actually knows everything that's going on, because um I've actually pitched a couple of things that it's like, oh, somebody did something like that before, and I'm like, oh, cool. I don't pay attention. Good thing you do. And then there's a bunch of different techniques that you should be thinking about. There's a couple of books that I could show you later, um, that are encouraging people to think outside the box. But also something that my mentor says, especially when it comes to digital design, like apps and websites, and is that everything has been done before. Everything, one way or another. All you got to figure out is what makes your version of it interesting enough or different enough that it warrants existing. Um, so I would say that even if you come up with an idea that, oh, that has been done before, everything has been done before. Just figure out how to make it better. Which is
Got
super vague. Sorry.
it. Like find the you in that idea, and then you will make
Yeah,
it.
like what are you bringing into that idea that makes it really fun? Um, and it's a headache process because you just have to come up with a lot of things. But also lean into like what you enjoy and what makes you, unique as a creative, and try to do that. Like I try to do a lot of game inspired things. Um, to they don't usually see the light of day, but they do sound interesting. And sometimes we do discuss them. Um, but that's my strength, and that's where I'm gonna try and push things.
Got it. And with like your ideas, when they don't work, what you do to make them work or like rewrite them?
I cry a lot. I mean, so I gosh, so I'm actually very very quick to kill the baby. Like I am not gonna love an idea so much that I stick to it forever. I've actually I've actually gone up to creative directors during a review where and I hate some creative directors because they go, "Oh, I don't know, maybe we do this, maybe we don't. Is it gonna survive? I don't know," especially when the deadlines are very tight. And a couple of weeks ago, I went up to a couple of creative directors when we were reviewing ideas, and I went, "Okay, are we gonna do this or not? I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. And this sounds like it's gonna require a lot of work, and we don't have that. So do we kill it or do we keep it?" And they were like, "What?" Like very surprised. Usually, people want to keep their ideas, and usually people don't, question the higher ups. But um, I understand that some ideas are, good from the very beginning, and some of them require more work, but sometimes you just don't have the time. Um, and I get it. The other thing is that, like, as a lower level person, I would like to be told. Usually the managers take forever to give feedback to you, and you're coming up with like multiple ways of how something could be fixed, to your point, to make it better. Um, just to find out later that your idea died. Um, and I don't know if it's, the political correctness of including everybody. But sometimes it's just better to call the baby ugly and just kill it. But it doesn't always happen. So it really depends if the idea can be saved or if not. I think it's more important to know if the idea is worth moving forward with. Um, and it kind of goes back to, it'd be nice to I think it's really important to have a creative director or like somebody higher up that you trust and you have an open conversation with, because it makes it much easier to have those conversations, especially if they believe that the idea can move forward. They can better help you out. There are some higher ups that will just tell you, okay, fix it, and then you're just sitting there like, how? Yeah, like, where? How? What do I do? What's the direction? You're just telling me fix it, and that means nothing. I had another creative director. I'm throwing so many people under the bus, but he hated my design, like hated it completely. And I said, okay, do you have 15 minutes to talk about this? Because this was all through email. Do you have 15 minutes to talk about this and see if we can figure it out? He didn't respond to like 3 days later, and he goes, yeah, I'm actually not on your project, so I cannot bill my time to it. So I'm not going to help you. I'm just sitting there like, you told me this sucks and you cannot give me feedback because you're not on the project, even though we're in the same company and doing work together. We should be helping each other, but I see how it is.
That bureaucracy and that
Yeah. And it
things.
also kills me because like I really believe in nurturing and educating people. Um a lot of mentoring, but some people just want to get the job done or only do stuff that'll benefit them or make them look good. So
Yeah, I see that almost all fields, mm, careers, people,
yeah.
interactions. You need that synergy to make things work.
Yeah. It's hard. You just gotta find people that you vibe with and a job you vibe with. Um and you're not always gonna find it early. It might take you a couple of jobs, but you find it eventually, I believe. I hope.
Like, yeah, eventually find it like 6 jobs later.
Yeah.
So with art direction, so it's more just like the planning, and then it goes down to the chains, and then eventually becomes an executed plan.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of just idea thinking, and a lot of planning. Um, um, I actually get a lot more exposure to some of the higher up things than some of my other friends, just because my team is smaller than others. Um, so, but it essentially boils down to that, just like coming up with ideas, um, executing them, and sending them out to the world.
And when you're brainstorming, do you ever get stuck, and how you get past getting stuck?
Um, I just take a break, honestly. Um, when it comes to brainstorming, um, I'm actually not. I'm one of those people, and I read this the other day that um, there's different types of ways that brainstorming helps people, and it kind of comes down to two based on the article I read. That introverts like to think about stuff on their own and then come together and share, which is 100% me. But extroverts think while they speak and would rather brainstorm together. In advertising, a lot of the brainstorming and problem solving is in groups, in reviews, live. Um, and I'm really, really bad at that. I have had I've had calls with vendors where we are reviewing work that they have done for me, and some problems come up that someone else noticed, and then they look at me for how do we fix this, and I have to come up with something on the spot, and I'm just like, uh, with my microphone muted, of course, um, and I get really nervous. I know it's not going to be the best answer, and it's bad. Like I'm definitely one of those people who need the time. Like I need to take a break when things are not working. I need to. I'm an art director, but I love writing out my ideas more than coming up with visuals for them. And especially brainstorming with people, that makes people really, really nervous because then it's like, oh, we have no visuals for this. But usually when I get stuck, I just go someplace else. I completely ignore it. I go on YouTube or Reddit. I go for a walk. I go get something to eat. Um, I just completely take off. Um, the other thing is that, and again, going back to like people that you trust, I have a couple of coworkers who I just go and talk to and bounce off the ideas that I had in hopes to come up with new stuff. Um, and they're usually very helpful. And it's stuff that I don't normally think of, especially because the way that my team has been structured is that everyone is different in their skills. So there's an illustrator that I used to work with before who I brought in. There's me who does a lot of digital and structured design. Um, and then there is a video director who does a lot of moving images and photography. So they're very different fields and they produce work very differently. Um, so whenever we talk about stuff, we do very different concepts. Um, so it helps having people like that around you because you come up with different things. I know, and this might make a lot of people angry, but I I I believe that everybody, when they say diversity, everybody focuses too much on skin and background and race. Um, but what does it mean when you have physically diverse people, but they all have the same background? They all went to the same expensive schools. They all come from like the same social background. They all have basically the same resume, and then you're basically going to come up with more ideas, but with people with different skin colors. Um, but what I believe you should really be doing is, bringing people who do fit the role, but have very different ways of doing things or different ideas. Like my team is very varied, and we purposely built it like that so that we could help each other. I know if we have a movie need, we go to this person. If we have an illustration need, I go to this person. They know if they have a digital question, they talk to me. Um, and it works so much better than some other teams that just have the same type of people in them. Um, and I think it's that diversity that really helps whenever I feel stuck, whenever I feel um, like I need very specific support on a project, because I know that they're there to help. and they're there to also help me get unstuck.
Nice. So it's pretty much building a team, but building a team that complements each other, and not just having 5 stars.
Yeah, and even then, how do I say it? I think it's what you said. It's the idea of diversity, but in a complementing way. Don't just do diversity for the sake of diversity, and be very specific about like what sorry, what the diversity means. Because again, I very much understand that, and as somebody who isn't white, I understand that uh white people tend to, get hired more and get a better shot than non-white people. So yeah, definitely try out other people, but also be, and to me it's even more important, be very specific, or equally as important, be be very specific over who you hire, who you bring in, who you work with, because you want to make sure that you are bringing in the right person that is gonna, to your words, complement the team in more than one sense. Not just because we need a woman, not just because we need a dark skinned person from either Hispanic or African American descent. No, no, no. Bring in somebody because they bring in a skill that your team doesn't have, not just a background that your team doesn't have.
Yeah, because if you have like everybody's a graphic designer, then you only have that point of view. And when something else comes up, everybody's trying to scramble.
Yeah. I mean, you can go to a high school and see all the different kids from different races and different backgrounds, but they're basically getting the same education, right? So you wanna get people who have different life skills to you know help out together. Um, because if you have like, I believe that if you have the same people bouncing off the same ideas, and that's the idea of diversity. If you have the same people bouncing off the same ideas, you're only going to come up with the same things in the end. But if you have other people who don't necessarily do what you do, who help you out and complement your strengths, and also fill in gaps the team has, you're going to come up with stuff that you would have never thought about.
Because if you have everybody's in the same thing, everybody got to step on each other's toes also, and then it's not done.
Yeah, and I get it that it might be scary hiring people who might not 100% fit the mold that you're trying to fill. Um, and I guess from a recruiting point of view, for people who might be applying to jobs, right? Um, when you see a job posting and they want like 10 years of experience, proficiency on this and this and this, um, that is usually for the ideal candidate, right? The person that they would 100% love hiring, and if they saw him coming in, they would hire them immediately. But usually that ideal hire is already working somewhere else. If you can fit, like, I think somebody told me, if you can fit 60 to 75% of the requirements, of like the very important requirements, definitely apply. Um, and to like recruiters, don't be afraid to hire those people, because it's that extra percentage that you have no idea about. As long as you know that they can do their job, it's that extra stuff that they bring in that definitely helps, add to that workplace diversity.
And how do you know you have how do you have confidence in the ability to do your work?
Oh, gosh, that um, I guess in my case, because confidence is really hard to instill in people, just because not everybody has the same levels of like innate confidence in themselves, or or let me turn this off, or how do you call it, or just confidence in general. I think in my case, I have been very, very lucky that I have worked with people who believe in me very strongly, and that's why they hired me. Um, I always complain that I get hired by managers who don't really manage me; they just let me do whatever I want. So there is very little chance for mentoring, but it's because they know that I'm going to do the job. They know that it's going to be good. They know that it's going to be well done, and they don't really need to quote unquote baby me. Um, so that has led to a lot of self reliance. Um, and for better or worse, I don't always feel the need to go to someone higher up than me and say, "Hey, do you approve of this? Hey, is this right?" Unless I feel I'm over my head, which does happen, and I do reach out to people because I'm still only a couple years out. Um, but I have been professionally working like that for a while, for multiple years. Um, so I feel confident that whenever I say something, it tends to be right. Um, and the other thing is that more than other people. Um, I'm very, very, very proud of the work that I do in the sense of like pride, not necessarily like, oh, I love what I do. Um, like I never want to put out something that feels half-assed. Um, because at the end of the day, my name is attached to it. Um, and because of that, I have spent a lot of time trying to get the craft right. Not much with design because it's not my strength, but with reasoning. I want to make sure that everything that goes out is as well thought out as it could be. Um, so I have done a lot of just practicing and research and reading and everything I can to elevate that craft level. Um, and the second part of that confidence, right, is having people around you who believe in you and are confident that you're going to do the right thing. So when you start a new job, nobody believes in you because nobody knows you, right? Um, they know your portfolio, they know of you sounding good on paper, and maybe whoever interviewed you saying good things about you. Um, but you just have to do good work, show people, hey, this person knows what they're doing. Um, be confident about the work that you put out because one, they hired you for a reason. Two, they hired you because you know your stuff. Um, and you know your stuff because you spend time doing it. Um, and just take that like how do I say this? I as a human being, and this is gonna come off as weird, but I don't really believe in me in a bunch of things, but I do believe in my craft. I will stand behind my craft any day. Um, I will stand behind my reasoning. I will stand behind the way that I do things because I know that they are good. Um, so don't be afraid because you don't believe in you or the way that you deliver something or the way that you wrote something. Um, or don't be afraid that they're not gonna like you. Stand behind your skill, stand behind your craft, stand behind your idea. Um, because then it becomes much easier. And never put out something that you're not confident in or proud of, because then it just makes it harder. Not only for you to present something, but then for people to say, "Oh, this person is good. Let's listen." Um, because if some people just come up with bad ideas, then they lose their confidence. And then it's also like an issue of like, do you know what's good? Because it feels like other people just don't believe in you anymore.
All right. So a common theme about in this episode is really having that people around you, that support system.
I would 100% say that I would not be here without all the people around me. Because to be completely honest, I'm not the like I'm hardworking, but to me a good day is staying in my room playing video games and not talking to anybody. Not the most productive person, right? But I've had some amazing people around me who have encouraged me to do stuff, um, who have pushed me out of my comfort zone, and because I really love those people, and really value their opinion, I raise to the occasion and do things that I wouldn't normally do. Um, and honestly, if it wasn't for those people, I don't think I'd be where I am, because um, what I want is very different, and it's not necessarily the best. Um, but I've just been very, very, very lucky.
Nice. Gotta find a team and then work with them.
Yeah,
Definitely. Like I said in this episode, find a board of directors and then you speak to them when you need help.
yeah. And even just not professionally. Like I mentioned, my mentor. He taught me when I was still in college. He was the one who got me into experience design and user experience design, or experience design in general. Let me get some water. And I've known him for about 5 years at this point, and he has been amazing. He has been a source of inspiration, um, and just help in general, even on non-professional things, um, which has been really helpful. Um, Actually, the other day he was yelling at me because every time I go to a bar, I order a rum and coke, and he said, "No, you got to be more professional than that. Get an old fashioned. It shows who you are." And he just started explaining to me what like different drinks meant, when you first meet somebody, and that is like basic life advice, but also professional advice, um, that not everyone is going to give you, um, but also good to get it. And you just need to find somebody who's comfortable enough to tell you that. Like my mentor will tell me to f off, um, if I'm being like childish and stuff. Um, and he knows that I can take it, and he knows that I'm looking for honesty like that versus being babied. Um, so I think it's like we've been saying all along. It's finding the right people, and just sticking to them.
Definitely. With designing and everything.
Mhm.
So you pretty much enjoy like so what you enjoy about it again? The designing like everything? Like
But
creative.
designing. Um, so I don't hate it. I I don't what I don't like is just making things pretty, because to me that doesn't matter. Or it does matter, but it's not what I focus on. It's not what I'm the great at. I can tell beautiful design, but I'm not necessarily going to be the one to come up with it. Um, I love and it's gonna sound super cheesy, but I love the idea of helping people. Um, Part of the reason why I wanted to design was that I kind of realized, oh, I can help make information easier, um, based on how you just put stuff together. And part of the reason why I started actually the reason why I leaned very heavily into user experience in college was that it's not about how smart you are. If you make something and you give it to someone and they can't use it without you having to explain it, you failed. You messed up. Um, and I believe that a lot of design is really smart, or it likes to think it's smart. Um, but many designs and many creatives and many people who make things don't always consider other people or the end user in mind, um, and think, oh, this is really cool, I'm going to do it because it's cool. I never think about things like that. I think about who's going to use this. Does this fix the problem that they have? And are they going to understand it? Right? Um, so I guess the thing is that I don't like designing for myself. I don't know what I want. Christmas comes around and people ask what I want for Christmas. I have no idea. If you tell me what you want, if you tell me that, I don't know, waking up in the morning is hard for you and you really want to become a morning person, hell, I'll come up with something. I don't know if it's going to be an alarm. I don't know if it's going to be a bed that kicks you off the bed. Um, I don't know if it's a recording of your mom yelling at you to wake up every morning, um, or water falling on your face. Um, I love solving those problems that people have, um, because to me, design should help people. Um, some people have said that design should be beautiful, it should be informative, it should help people, and I really lean into the idea of helping people. With my partner and I, my copywriter partner at work, the one who does all the writing and all that, we believe that what we want to do is help people out in a way that it makes their day a little bit better. That's all we want to do. And that's where I have a very big clash with advertising, where I don't want to sell things to people that they don't need, because to me it just feels morally wrong. And some people will say, "Oh yeah, I mean, but you are giving them the option, and you're not cramming it down their throat that they have to buy this." Yeah, but you're still, what is it? Unconscious, subconsciously trying to get them to get it every time they go to the store. Um, are you the best option? Should Coca-Cola be advertising all the time? It's not really healthy, but they do it and people like it. Um, and that is the type of stuff that, okay, I understand it requires a lot of creativity, because to your point, a lot of things have been done before, especially in that field. But I just don't care for it. That is not the type of work I want to be doing. Um, and to me, it's just so much more interesting coming up with stuff that helps people, because to me, that's the type of work that people will be looking at. Like when you can help somebody feel better, when you can help somebody do something they weren't able to do before, um, that is a much more interesting story than, oh, look, a brand did something cool. So what? You'll forget about it next week. If you can help somebody do something, they'll remember it for the rest of their lives.
It's the user and experience that you really like doing. On that note of like advertising can be like invasive to people, I always had the idea for me, like as a marketing is annoying, but I'm also part of the field sometimes. So I'm just like it's kind of like that like just like I'm part of the problem, but there's also that, yeah, like people say, you're not telling people, like, you're not metaphorically putting a gun to their face, like saying, buy this. You just like,
Yeah.
it's up to you.
Yeah, but
And
you're still pushing out so much advertising that to them it's the only choice,
yeah,
right? Or it's not necessarily the only choice, but it's the comfortable choice because they know it, they hear about it. And is that right? I don't think so. Um sure people still have a choice, but I don't know, that to me again is work I don't ever want to be doing.
it's like, how much is it a choice if it seems like it's the only choice? And then you have like society telling people to do things.
Yep.
And it's like all working together. They're like, hey, keep buying more and more.
Yep. So
Cap-
that's my
capitalism.
little grip with advertising. I think they have a chance to do a lot. There's a lot of money in advertising, and I think it just gets all spent way too much on entertainment versus bettering the world. As pretentious as it may sound, I do believe that designers have a chance to make things better for people. Um, but that doesn't necessarily sound as fancy as awards or doing something cool because it's cool. But hey, different people.
Yeah. Mm, almost an hour, so we could take a little longer than we've done.
Mhm. Well, if you have anything else to ask, let me know. Otherwise, I feel this has been pretty cool.
Yeah, I think we can end it on here. Nice little chat, and then on a good note of wanting to help the
Cool.
world.
Well, if I can, I actually wanted to ask you,
Yeah,
how did you start the podcast, and like, how do you how did you decide to start? What made you start? And how do you run it? How do you plan for it? How do you do all that stuff? At work, my partner and I have been thinking about starting one, but there's so many out there that we don't know why we would do it or how we would do it or even where to start. And I just find it so fascinating that you're just doing it.
yeah. So after I graduated college, I really have a job afterwards, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I was like, okay. And then I was like looking around like other people I know, and they was like they were doing well in life, and I was like, okay. And then I'm also good at talking to people. I know a lot of people, so I was like, I can find guests easily because of the amount of people I've met. And I was like, let me start a podcast. Let me just try it. And I had the idea in like August 2019, and then by December 2019, I started recording, and then released in January. I was like, this is edited according to the research and everything. And I was like, a couple things gonna happen with the podcast. Either it does amazing, and that'd be like the best case scenario, or it does okay, and then somebody sees it and they want to buy it, and then they could just buy the name, or somebody sees the work I'm doing and want to hire me for doing similar work, or if it does terrible, but I've learned something from it, and I could take things I learned from it and put it to a better project. And then the way I run it is definitely learning as I go, because it's like things like I did all the like I did a lot of research, but a lot of things came up I didn't expect in terms of like even like the editing part and then like just processing in general. And like when I was planning, I was like I knew that I couldn't do 52 weeks a year because that's like running a marathon without taking a break, and that's why I put in the seasons. I was like, okay, I could just do these 10 real quick, and then start releasing, and then while doing that, just prepare. And it gives me time to prepare for anything that may happen. And right now, just more of just leveling it up and seeing where to go next.
That's awesome. I really admire the fact that you're just honestly doing it. I think I was telling you that there's a lot of planning whenever we do projects, and sometimes that planning gets to your head and you never actually make it. Um, and it's like the moment that you actually do something like you are, and just getting the experience from actually trying it out is what user experience is about. Just like getting something out there and getting feedback from people and seeing how it goes. So I will say I incredibly admire what you're doing and the fact that you're just at it and learning from it and talking to a lot of people. That's amazing, and keep doing it, dude. That's so cool.
Thanks. And in terms of starting a podcast, I'm making a PDF page, web page for it because a lot of people are asking me, and I was like, it's better just to make instead of trying to think of remember every single time, just like, okay, here's a document, and then go from there, and then ask more questions.
Yeah. Cool, dude.
Cool. All right. Before we end, the last question is, what would you name your origin story?
My origin story. I'd probably go back to the thing I told you before, a series of fortunate events. Also because I love a series of unfortunate events. That was a fantastic series. I loved it.
Nice. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Cool. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Have a nice day.
You too. Take care.
Take care. And
That brings another episode of the Let's Get a Podcast to a close. Again, I'd like to thank Patrick for being a guest on the podcast. For next week, I have the host of the podcast, Room 3228. I hope you continue a nice day, and I hope to see you there.